that was just prep. I did not think prep was gonna take 2 hours. Again, prep is the most important. I mean, hell, this is the whole video on just prep. So stay tuned for part 2 where we actually paint it. So these are all my holy grail tips for prep. So let's get into it. Please hit like if you find value in this video, and go ahead and hit subscribe so you can come back and see my next videos. Thanks. It's currently mid-October and I need to get this paint on the door before it gets to 50 degrees outside. So today I'm going to be painting my front door that we just installed. I'm going to be painting it Urbane Bronze from Sherwin Williams. This is the urethane trim enamel interior/exterior. This is our new front door that we just installed a couple weeks ago. This is our new front door. Don't worry about the trim right now. I'm just painting the door, the inside and the outside, before it gets too cold. We're going to do the trim next. But for now, we're gonna paint this door together. It is brand new. It took us a long time to install, so that's kind of high stakes. I don't wanna mess it up. I have painted other things in the past and learned a lot. So I have scoured YouTube, I have watched everything, and I think I have put together a list of the holy grail for the perfect paint job. We're gonna see if we can get a perfectly smooth paint job with no brush strokes, okay? Here is my current door, is a picture of the current situation, and here is my inspo. Here's my picture that I drew up in Canva. Okay, this is everything that I think is super important, from basic to some pro tips that will make life easier, okay? So for prep, for leaving the door on the hinges, we're going to place shims under the door when it's open so that it stays still, so it doesn't move, okay? And I've also got a drop cloth underneath because of course you want to protect the floors, okay? We are going to microfiber rag, okay? After you do a quick sand, this door is brand new. It's already primed. I've already done it once over. It's super smooth, but what I am going to do is clean it off with a microfiber. Don't clean it off with a paper towel. That will leave little pieces. Microfiber is going to keep it super smooth, free of dust and debris, okay? And we're going to, since we're leaving it on the hinges, and I'm also leaving the handle on, we're going to tape around everything, and then a box cutter to trim off the extra so that we have a perfect fit with the tape, okay? But the best thing that I've learned, and I've never done it before and we're gonna try today, is to activate the frog tape, okay? The key, I did not know this. I saw this from watching a 30-second short. I need to thank this person. I commented, I hope they liked, I hope they appreciated my comment. Did you know you are supposed to run a damp cloth over the frog tape after you apply it? That actually activates the adhesion. Who knows? And it says it on here. It says it. It says pre-activate paint block technology by running a damp cloth along the tape's edge. I have used painter's tape many times and been really annoyed because I peel it off and there's still paint underneath of it. It's like, why did I even use this? I've actually gotten better at cutting in and making a straight line, and I don't use tape. I'm going to use it today for this door because it's very high stakes, okay? I saw someone use a putty knife scraper to actually flatten out the tape to make it just more flat to the surface. I can't find one, so I've got this little plastic piece. I'm going to run it over the tape once I put it on the door. And then the other thing is to make sure you take the paint off, or take the tape off before the paint dries. Not immediately, but before it's fully dry, okay? Tape activation with H2O, okay? Water, H2O, that's not good. H2, activate your frog tape with H2O. Also, I don't have like plastic from the store, so we're going to use plastic bags we're going to use trash bags to tape off the glass. Should be fine. I'm pretty excited. Sherwin Williams Urbane Bronze. Let's do this. My husband is very concerned, but I think it's going to turn out amazing. I have complete confidence in myself. Almost delusional, which we'll get it done. It'll be fine. Let's do this. The first step, hair. And it's primed. I'm not going to sand it. It's primed, it's fine. But we are going to, where's my tape? I'm gonna tape it. I'm actually going to take off this trim board because it's not level anyway. I took off the trim piece because it wasn't level anyway and it was just a proof of concept. We're gonna put it back on after we paint. Again, I'm just trying to get the painting done before it gets too cold. It's currently mid-October and I need to get this paint on the door before it gets to 50 degrees outside. So it's like 65 today. So just want to get the whole point is paint the exterior, but while I'm at it, I'm gonna paint the interior too. Because, yeah. Okay, so let's taper off. And the prep work is always the longest. Like, painting is actually very quick and it's supposed to go pretty quick, and I have a lot of really good tips for that. I've learned a whole bunch. I've got some really, really good ones, like how to avoid brush strokes, because I've had those in the past. And hopefully what I've learned is going to make it not have brush strokes today. Mm-hmm. I really don't think I'd ever want to take a door off the hinge to paint it, because we have put a few doors back on the hinge and that is a pain to get the door level. So I think I'd prefer to work around and tape off everything than take this whole thing off and put it back on. That is a task in itself. I've got my painting pants on. Try to get the first coat done, okay? We're gonna do a time lapse of me taping, and I will let you know how long it takes. So, tip I've learned for the circle tapes, when you're taping around something circular, use tiny little pieces to go around. Because, like right here, you have to use a bunch of tiny little pieces. One long piece won't do it because you want to get it really tight in the corner. So tear off a bunch of small pieces. Let's do the front now. Now that I'm working with the door open, I'm going to shim it so that it stays open. Let's see. Okay, can you go? Okay. Lots of shims. Door is good. So I'm cutting up a plastic bag to cover the glass. I'm not super concerned about it. My husband is, and I've taped up the edges like really good. And It only took me like 35 minutes. I'm sure I'll get faster at taping, but that was not fun. Taping is really not fun. So I'm gonna put this bag on. I already put the bag on the other side. And then I'm going to take the box cutter and trim around the tape. And this is really difficult to cut. Why do you make these bags so difficult? I guess I could just tear it. Actually, yeah, tearing works a lot better than cutting. You learn as you go. So, oh, so much better. I just like ripped it. This is mostly to catch the drips, and I'm going to be really careful anyway. So, I think it's fine. And I have, okay, prep is like really not fun, but it's really important. God, this is exhausting though. If anyone has any tips for like things that are unnecessary, please let me know. If it were up to me, I would not be taping this up, but my husband is very concerned, so we're taping. But trash bag works pretty well. You're not gonna buy that plastic from Home Depot? No. I am going to be painting the threshold, but this needs to be primed first. So, and I only have spray paint primer. Yeah, I'm not gonna, okay. So I'm gonna paint the threshold, but I need to get primer for it because it's metal. I have spray paint primer, but I don't want to spray paint this. Unless I could like spray paint into a cup and then dab it with a paintbrush. Can you do that? Okay, so we are going to paint this part, the door, and this top portion right up there. And then the brick is going to be white, and we're going to put a trim piece on the whole outside, which will be white as well. Okay, so taping sucks. Taping took like 45 minutes. Now I need to cut it still, and I think I'm gonna wet it after I cut it. Okay, so I can't find my other box cutter. So can't find my first box cutter. So I have a second box cutter. And I'm going to use this thing. Really should have a putty knife scraper thing, but I'm going to use this and just push down on all the edges, on all the tape to make sure it's tight. I'm gonna close this for now. Keep this thing. I'm gonna put it. Let's press down all the edges just to make sure we're tight. This is like a cake frosting tool. I don't know what it is, but hey. What it is, but hey. Now let's cut. So, an hour and a half of prep time, but maybe I didn't need to do all that, but I guess better safe than sorry. Now I'm going to run this damp cloth over the tape. That is the key to activating the adhesive. What's funny is my door hardware is black and the paint is Urbane Bronze, which is super dark, so there's a lot of room for recovery. It's not the end of the world. But let's see. Okay. Don't rub too hard because then the tape comes off. Lesson learned. I don't know how damp the cloth is supposed to be. Mine is moderately damp, so see what happens. This part isn't too bad. Really just trying to make sure I get the edges adhesed. You know, I've painted a lot of things, but never really prepped like this. So if you're actually gonna do it right, this does take time. I typically just go for it. And I'm, again, pretty good at edging, but I don't want to risk it with this door. Okay, all right, let me tape down here. Oh, goodness. Still need to tape that. Okay, that was exhausting. Hour and like 45 minutes, but the door is prepped. Running the damp cloth definitely makes it feel different than my previous uses. And I've got all my hinges nice and taped. I've even taped the threshold. Again, I'm going to paint the threshold, but I need to prime it first because it's metal. Got these. Not sure if I want to paint inside. I don't know if I want to paint in there or not, but we'll see. I would recommend, I think you should dampen the frog tape before you score it. I did that a couple times and it was much easier to rip off the scored edges. Also, square hardware is much easier to tape. Circle hardware, it's not easy or fun to tape. Trash bags work well in a pinch. And yeah, what I don't understand is that I know you have to, I know what the guidance is to take off the take off the painter's tape while it's still wet, while the paint is still wet, but I've got to do 2 coats. So I've got to let the first coat dry, but then I got to put the second coat on, then I'll take the frog tape off once the second coat is still wet, but the first coat's going to be dry. But I guess it's okay. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to have to do. I'm not retaping it. That wouldn't, no, yeah, that can't be the, yeah, it'll be fine. But I'm going to have to, okay, we're going to paint, and then I got to wait 4 hours before I repaint it. I'm going to take a break before we start to paint, and then I'm going to go over the holy grail of painting. That was just prep. I did not think prep was going to take 2 hours. Again, prep is the most important. I mean, hell, this is the whole video on just prep. So stay tuned for part 2 where we actually paint it. So these are all my holy grail tips for prep. This was going to be a video on the holy grail of a perfect paint job, but it's actually the holy grail of the perfect prep job, because that's what we spent the last 2 hours doing. So, okay, part 2 is coming up. Store is fully protected.